Bishop Harding, what were your thoughts when you heard the verdict?
I was very elated. This is the first time in the history here in Minnesota that we have ever charged and found a white officer guilty of murder. So I was elated. The Floyd family, they were glad about this verdict. So we were all elated. But at the same time, I was a little skeptical because I know that we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work
Mm.
ahead. And I'm saying to everyone, this is not the time to get too comfortable. We have a lot of work ahead, a lot of work to do.
I think about the fact that, as you said, the Floyd family should be very excited, very happy, as well as Minneapolis. But I think about Philando Castile. I think about so many others. I think about the Wright family right now as well. When you talk about work ahead, what does that look like? Because I know there's talk now of looking at the police force in Minneapolis a lot more closely, doing investigation into, even previous cases. What does the work look like today?
A lot of files are going to be reopened. And Minneapolis Police Department has a long history of systemic racism. And Philando Castile, his mother, she's reliving all of this. It's hard. You know, she's a good friend of mine and she's going through this as if this was just yesterday. And so it's really, really hard right now. And here is the thing, I'm glad we are all happy that the accountability for officers has started. But we know that the real problem, there's a Derek Chauvin in every department that you go to. The real problem is addressing racism. Policing, we as Black people felt that it was never meant for us. Every time a police show up, it's always to bring pain, to inflict pain, or to take us to jail. They never stop to say, hey, you got a flat, maybe I help you out. It's always to inflict pain. So police has never been there for us. So we are looking at this verdict and we're looking at the cost. How that Chauvin come about is due to racism. The department was structured this way that we as Black people, we are less than. We have never been seen as equals. And so until we start to address the root causes of how we got here, we going to get here 6 months from now. We'll be here, right here, discussing another young Black life taken at the hands of police.
I know that you met with Jesse Jackson, who is, a pioneer when it comes to civil rights. What did he have to say about what has unfolded in Minnesota?
I had a meeting with the Honorable Reverend Jesse Jackson, and we had a discussion about how Minneapolis has a history, deep rooted history of racism, especially this police department. And he was telling me that he is too aware of the systemic racism within this state. And during our meeting, I was greatly honored that he and I were able to drive together to Shiloh Temple to meet the family of Dante Wright, his mother and father. And we were also able to view his body and speak with the Reverend Al Sharpton, who is giving a eulogy right now. So this is hard. Jesse was just here last year when Floyd got murdered, and he was speaking exactly what he's saying today, that we got to address the root cause of all of this. Derek Chauvin didn't just happen overnight. This has been the practice of police all across the United States. This has been the way we as a people have been treated. When we are pulled over, we are made to get down. We are made to lay down on the ground. We are made to lay down with a knee in our back, even though we don't have no weapons. And some of us have not even been in prison before. So we have seen this time and time again, and it's because there's this fear what where we as a people, we are not seen as equals. We are seen as animals. We are seen as less than. We are seen as people that they can treat any kind of way and they will not face persecution. So things are changing now.
You know, we've heard a lot of the word justice, and some people are saying we won't see justice until things fully change. Exactly what you're saying, sir. What does justice look like? And I know you talk about, you've just said, you know, that means getting down to the root of what racism looks like. But can we use the word justice when it comes to this verdict? Are we getting a peek into what justice could look like for not just Minneapolis, but for Black people worldwide?
For me, for the family, what justice eventually looks like is that the death of George Floyd, the death of Dante Wright, will start to change the culture. The culture of racism will start to change the culture where we can be seen as a people, as honest working taxpayers. Now that's justice. That Floyd's death would not be in vain, but it would have not just start accountability, but it will also have the conversation about racism, about who we want to be as a nation and where we want to go. You know, you look down and see what happened over North Minneapolis, South Minneapolis. Businesses was burnt down. Some of those businesses are never coming back. You know, what is justice? Time and time again, we've been here, you know, until we start, we've been here before, until we start to address why are we here? Why is it that so many Black people, as compared to white, are gunned down at the hands of police? Why? This is not a coincidence. You know, it's not a coincidence. And we go back, we talk about training, we talk about a lot of things, but we also have to look at ourselves as a nation, as a people. You know, we, not too long ago, even our Constitution said that Black people were not real people. We were only three-fifths a person. So when you have that mindset that goes over hundreds of years, viewing a particular group of people as less than, even law enforcement, the policing, their origin was based on not treating Black people fairly, but treating Black people as criminals and people that are less than.
My last question to you, sir. 11 months ago, we didn't know George Floyd. The world didn't know. I know you knew him, but the world didn't know George Floyd. Now we have his image impressed in our minds. We have seen the last 9.5 minutes of his life. How should George Floyd be remembered? I know that you walked with him for a short period of time and knew him.
Yeah, and he was a gentle giant, and I still have those memories that will never be taken away. And I think for me, um, when I think of George, and I'm going to remember him as a civil rights leader that turned the dial, that brought about accountability, um, in policing in America, because I truly believe that going forward, in order for law enforcement to survive, there must be accountable. There must be transparent. So I think the death of George Floyd is going to go a long way where we as a people will remember his death, remember this man, that in his death, as cruel as it was, that many other Black children will be alive today because his death turned the dial and started to hold officers accountable, not just in this country, but all across the world. We as a people got together. The world rose up, and Chauvin was not found guilty because we had great lawyers. No, he was found guilty because the world demanded it, because you demanded it, because the reporters demanded it. What we saw with our own eyes was so plain to see. And people are saying enough. We are tired of this. We are tired of our businesses being burned down. We are tired of the lootings. We're tired of the shootings. We're tired of the murders of our young children. People don't want to live like this anymore. So we are re-examining ourselves, and people all across America today are re-examining themselves. Churches are having this conversation, and because this young man give his life so that we may be able to hold these people accountable. And I just want to thank the family of George. I want to thank the family of Philando Castile. You know, I also think about Eric Gartner, who got choked to death just for selling a loose cigarette. Time and time again, we see these things, and all of these Officer Yanez were never held accountable for killing Philando Castile. And we know the officer that killed Eric Gartner, that choked him to death, was never held accountable. But now with George Floyd, things are starting to change because the world demanded it.
Mm. It's
Because the,
sad that it's sad that it took a life in order for the world to wake up, but you're right. He has changed the world. Thank you so much, Bishop Harding Smith, for your time today.
I thank you for having me.